morning children. Today I am going to teach you the lesson The Happy Prince, and before that I welcome you to my English channel. And children, this lesson is written by Oscar Wilde. So first of all I am going to tell you about the author. Oscar Wilde, 16 October 1854 he was born, and he died in 30 November 1900. He was an Irish playwright, novelist, essayist and poet. Essayist means those who writes essay. So he was an Irish playwright, novelist, essayist and poet. He became fluent in French and German early in life. After university, Wilde moved into London into fashionable cultural and social circle. So after university, he went to settle in that society of London, which was fully concerned with the fashion and cultural and social circle. After writing in different forms throughout the year 1880s, he became one of the London's most popular playwrights in the early 1890s. At the turn of 1890s, he refined his ideas about the supremacy of art in a series of dialogues and essays, and incorporated themes of decadence, duplicity, and beauty into his only novel. The Picture of Dorian Gray, 1890, he is remembered for his epigram novels, play, as well as circumstances of his imprisonment and of early death. So now, such was the great writer Oscar Wilde, and he has written in so many nice stories. Okay, and in class 8 you can read The Selfish Giant. Again, it's a very nice story which gives the message that we should be kind, we should not be cruel. Okay, now let's say this story is also giving indirectly this story, The Happy Prince, is also giving the message that we should be kind towards humanity. We should be kind to all the human beings. So children, the theme of the story is outward beauty is nothing. That means whatever beauty is outward, it is nothing. It is the internal, it is just a show. The real beauty lies internally in your heart, and it is a love and sacrifices. The second theme is that love and sacrifices are two saying forces. And the last theme is that there is a great gap between the rich and the poor, the rulers and the masses. So then again he had shown the variation that there is a large gap between the rich and the poor, the rulers and the masses. Well children, so now I will be discussing you about the background of the lesson. The statue of the Happy Prince. If you will read the chapter in the very first stanza, it has started with the statue, and that statue belongs to the prince who is famous by the name of Happy Prince. The Happy Prince was a beautiful statue of a real prince. He was covered with gold. He had sapphire for eyes. So children, his whole body was covered with gold leaves, and he had a sapphire eyes. Children, sapphire is a blue stone which is very expensive, and then he has a ruby sword. His sword, there was a ruby again is a red jewel, and his sword it was made of that ruby. He was, and he have a ruby sword. The statue was set on a tall column by his courtiers. Now children, the courtiers of the king has set the statue of the Happy Prince in the tall column. The Happy Prince desire. Now children, this is the beginning of the story, that there was a statue of the Happy Prince. Now, what was the desire of the Happy Prince? The statue of the Happy Prince sees all the miseries of the city. He weeps when he sees people in trouble. He wanted to help them. Now children, though he is a statue, but he is having a kind heart. Okay, he is a statue, golden statue, but his heart seems to work like a real heart. He sees the misery of the people and he is very kind prince. Okay, and when he sees the people in trouble, he wanted to help them with his what he wanted to help them with his whatever things which he had, like the ruby in his sword, the sapphire eyes, and the golden gold leaf of which he was covered with. Now, the sallow as messenger. Suddenly, children, a sallow came and she stayed at the feet of the statue of the happy prince for the night. On the happy prince's request, he prolonged his stay and helped the poor with the ruby and the sapphire. When the happy prince could not see any more, the sallow decided to stay with him forever. Then he helped the people with the gold covering of the happy prince. At the end, he died of frost. Frost is a snow. The heart of the happy prince also broke. So children, finally both died. The heart of the happy prince broke. It broke. That sallow, it died in the feet of the prince. Okay. So the sallow, but children, if you will read the story, we will see the sallow had played an important part in helping the prince. The prince, actually, it was in the form of a statue. It was not able to move. So through the sallow only, he was able to help other people. He was helping the other people. Okay, he was sending sallow only to help the other people. Now, the most precious thing. Now, children, when both of them died, the mayor passed by the square below with the town councillor, and they were talking among themselves. They noticed that the statue of the happy prince had become shabby in looks. The ruby had fallen out from his sword. The sapphire of the eyes were nowhere, and the statue was no longer golden. So he took a decision. They put it down and sent it to furnace. The statue did not melt in the furnace, and therefore it was thrown out in the dust heap where the dead swallow was already lying. So children, the heart of the statue, it did not melt. It was thrown on the dust heap where the dead swallow was already lying. An angel came and took the laden heart and the dead swallow to God as two most precious things. Okay, so this is the theme, the background of the story, that they help each other. Okay, and finally they died, and the heart and the dead body of the swallow was taken by the angel, which was sent by God. When God told him what are the two precious things, just bring the two precious things. So the angel had brought these two precious things, and it was a right decision from his side. Now children, main points of the story. The prince in the story is not a living prince. It is a statue. But that it is seeing, it is behaving as if it is a real prince. It is seeing, it is giving his decision to the sallow. The Happy Prince is the story of a statue of a dressed red prince decorated with gold leaves and precious stones. So children, the Happy Prince is the story of a statue of a dead prince decorated with gold leaves and precious stones. The prince is known as the Happy Prince because there is a smile on his lips. The smile on his lips gradually gives way to tears. So children, at first there is a smile on his lips, and then finally there are tears in his eyes. The Happy Prince is sad over the misery of the poor people and the sad people which he was able to see from the column where he was standing. And children, he was also sad that he was not able to, he was unable to help them. He decided to help them with his gold leaves and precious stoppers, sapphires, and rubies. So children, he was having three things right now in his body. First was of gold leaf, the whole body was covered with gold leaf. Then he had a beautiful blue eyes made of pure sapphires, and then there was a ruby in his sword. So he wanted to help these people, the poor people who was not able to see the mysteries of these people with these things. Now children, suddenly a swallow came from somewhere, and he has to go to Egypt, but since he was tired and a night halt has to be taken by him, so he stopped and sat at the feet of the prince. The swallow was actually on his way back to his homeland when the prince had detained him to help the poor. And now children, to that period, swallow, the prince had detained him to help the poor. He always wished to go back, and now it was too late. So children, he was always wishing to go back, but now it was too late, and he was stopped by the prince himself. The intense cold killed the swallow. Thus the little swallow lost his life in helping the poor. So children, whatever the prince told, to whom he told that the swallow would be helped by the swallow, the swallow helped him. Okay, and thus the little swallow lost his life in helping the poor. The swallow death broke the prince's heart. The swallow and the prince were perished for a noble cause. So children, after helping other people from his ruby, from sapphire, and from his gold covered leaf, finally the swallow, she died. Okay, and afterward the prince was also thrown, the statue of the happy prince was also melted except the heart, that finally the heart of the prince was thrown near the dead swallow. The intense cold killed the swallow. Thus the little swallow lost his life in helping the poor also. Now children, the swallow's death broke the heart of the prince. Their death was not the end, it made them immortal. One day the god asked one of the angels to bring the two most precious things in the city. The angel brought him the Latin heart and the dead swallow. God appreciated this act. So children, I have told you all the main important points of the story, and now I will be reading it, and then I will be explaining it, and you have to note it down, all the difficult words, meaning, and listen carefully the wonderful story written by Oscar Wilde. So children, chapter number 5 from your moments, from your book Supplementary Reader, the moment, and we are going to do chapter number 5, the Happy Prince. Now I'm going to read the lesson and I'm going to explain you. The Happy Prince was a beautiful statue. So children, who was Happy Prince? Okay, the Happy Prince was the beautiful statue. He was covered with gold. He had sapphire for eyes and a ruby in his sword. Why did he want to part with all the gold and that he had and his precious stone? So in the pictures you can see the beautiful statue of the Happy Prince who had the eyes of sapphire, and there was a ruby in his sword, and his whole body was covered with gold leaves. High above the city, on a tall column, stood the statue of the Happy Prince. So children, where he was standing, he was made to stand on a high column, okay, and it was high above the city. On a tall column stood the statue of the Happy Prince. He was gilded all over with thin leaves of fine gold. For eyes he had two bright sapphires and a large red ruby glued on his sword hilt. On a large red ruby glued on his sword hilt. One night there flew over the city a little swallow. Children, one night there flew over the city a little swallow. His friend had gone away to Egypt 6 weeks before, but he had stayed behind Then he decided to go to Egypt. All day long he flew, and at night time he arrived at the city. Where shall I put up? He said. I hope the town has made preparations. So, children, that fellow, he was not knowing where to go. It was already night. Okay, and when he arrived at the city, so we all know that the birds never fly at night. So he is thinking, where shall I put up? He said, I hope the town has made preparation. Now he wanted to stay there, and he is saying that town must have preparation for staying the birds also somewhere, and he started seeing here and there. Then he saw the statue on the tall column. Then suddenly he saw the statue of that happy prince who was standing on the tall column. I will put up there, right? It is a fine position with plenty of fresh air. Now he decided that he will be staying there only. There was a plenty of fresh air. Okay, so he alighted just between the feet of the happy prince. Alighted means he came down and sat. So he alighted near the foot of the feet of the happy prince. I have a golden pendulum. So when he saw, he raised his head and he saw here and there. Then he saw that he had the prince, since the prince's body was made of gold. Okay, the gold leaf had covered the prince's body. So he is thinking that I have a golden bedroom. The sailor thought that will be staying in a golden bedroom. He said softly to himself as he looked around, and he prepared to go to sleep. And finally he wanted to sleep. But just as he was putting his head under his wing, a large drop of water fell on him. Now, children, we know how the birds sleep. They put their heads like this, okay, on the wing. So just as he was putting his head under the wing, a large drop of water fell on him. What a curious thing, he cried. There is not a single cloud in the sky. The stars are quite clear and bright, and yet it is raining. Now, children, when the drop of the water fell on the head of the sailor, he was surprised. He told him, it is raining. Then, and the drop fell. Okay, and he thought there is no cloud. Then from where this drop is, from where this rainfall is coming. And then suddenly he was drenched with another drop. What is the use of a statue if it cannot keep the rain off? He said. I must look for a good chimney pot, and he determined to fly away. So he is telling he must look for a good chimney pot, and he determined to fly away. But before he had opened his wing, a third drop fell, and he looked up and saw, what did he see? And children, suddenly the third drop also fell. He looked around, and then he saw that there was a golden bedroom. Okay, and then again let's see what he see. The eyes of the happy prince were filled with tears, and tears were running down his golden cheek. What did he see? That he was standing under the statue, and when he had seen at the eyes, he saw that the eyes of the happy prince was filled with tears. That tears, they were raining down from on his golden cheeks, and it was falling on the sallow. His face was so beautiful in the moonlight that the little Salu was filled with pity. Children, his face was very beautiful in the moonlight, and the little Salu was filled with pity. Who are you? He said. I am the happy prince. The Salu asked him, who are you? Why are you crying? He told, I am happy prince. What are you weeping? Then he says, what are you weeping? Them asked the Salu, you have quite drenched me. He is telling that why are you crying, and you have drenched me. Drenched means you have made me wet. When I was alive and had a human heart, answered the statue. Now children, what did the statue ask? What did the statue said? He said, when I was alive and had a human heart, answered the statue. I did not know what tears were. That time I was so happy. I was inside my palace that I was not knowing, I was not aware that why people become sad, what is, why the tears are tears in the eyes of the person. For I lived in the palace where sorrow is not allowed to enter. And he told that I used to live in that palace where sorrow was not allowed to enter. My courtiers called me the happy prince, and children, his courtiers, they called him happy prince. And happy indeed I was. So I lived and so I died. And he was telling that he was really one of the happiest person, and he lived and he lived his life, he enjoyed his life, and finally he died. And now that I'm dead, they have set me up here so high that I can see the ugliness and all the misery of my city. Now he told that after his death, they in the form of a statue, they set me here up here so high that I can see the ugliness and all the misery of my city. That I was made to stand in the form of a statue here, that I can see all the miseries and all the sorrow of my city. And though my heart is made of lead, yet I cannot choose but weep. He is saying, though my heart is made of lead, okay, but I cannot choose but weep. What is he not solid gold, said the sorrow to himself. He was too polite to make any personal remark. Now the fellow is hearing, he had heard what the prince said to him, and he had thought so hard that he was made of gold. And he told the prince, oh, he started thinking within his mind that, oh, this prince is not made of solid gold. He was thinking earlier that this prince is made of solid gold. So, children, the fellow is a bit surprised now. Far away continued the story in a low musical voice. Far away in a little street there is a poor house. Now, children, the prince described one of the misery which he had seen. He is describing one of the miseries which he is saying. He is telling, far away. It's very far away because I can see from here. Continued the statue in a low musical voice. Far away in a little street there is a poor house. There is a poor house there. Okay, one of the window is open, and children, the window of that house is open, and through it I can see a woman seated at a table, and through that window he can see a woman seated at the table. Her face is thin and worn, and she has coarse and red hands all pricked by the needle. Now, children, the woman can be seen seated at a table. Her face is thin and worn. She is tired, and she has coarse red hands all pricked by the needle. And children, her whole hand has become red because there's a needle has pricked that hand. For she is a seamstress. So children, who is she? She is a seamstress. Now, seamstress is a female tailor. Okay. Now, and her work is she is embroidering flowers on a satin gown for the loveliest of the queen's maids of honor. Now, children, queen's maids of honor is there, and she has to attend the party, and she is making a different. She is embroidering flowers on a satin gown for the loveliest of the queen's maid of honor to wear at the next court ball. A ball is going to be there in the court. What is a ball, children? It is not that ball which we play. It is a ball where we have ball dance. There is a party, and there the couple, they do ball dance. Okay, they eat, they enjoy, they marry, they are happy. Or ball dances are there, and a nice feast is served. So, children, she is embroidering flowers on a satin gown for the loveliest of the queen's maid of honor to wear at the next court ball in the corner of the room to give him the boy. Her little boy is lying ill, and children, in the same bed his small son is there, and he is suffering from fever. He is lying there, the little boy who is ill, and he has a fever and is asking for his mother to give him oranges, and he is asking his mother to give him oranges. His mother has nothing to give him but river water, so he is crying. Now the poor mother, she don't have anything to give him. That boy is hungry, he is crying, and poor mother, she don't have anything to give right at this time, so she is only serving him river water. Now the priest is seeing everything from the place where he was standing. He can see the child is crying, and he wants that Swallow to help the mother. So he is telling, Swallow, Swallow, little Swallow, will you not bring her the ruby out of my sword hilt? Now just give her the ruby from my sword hilt. My feet are fastened in this pedestal and I cannot move. So he is telling, my feet are fastened in this pedestal and I cannot move. I waited for in Egypt, said the Swallow. Now the Swallow is telling that everybody, all my friends are there in Egypt. They are waiting for me. My friends are flying up and down the Nile and talking to the large lotus flower. So it's telling all my fellow, they have reached Egypt. They are flying down, up and down the Nile. What is the Nile? Nile is a river which flows in Egypt, and talking to a large lotus flowers, and his friends, they were talking to a large lotus flower. Soon they will go to sleep. And children, after talking and after flying and after eating, soon all my friends, they will go to sleep. Okay. So the Swallow picked out the great ruby from the prince's sword and flew away with it in his beak over the roof of the town. Well, children, the Swallow told the prince, I don't think I like boys. He told, I don't like boys, because children, the boys, they always throw a stone to the Swallow. Okay, they always put them in trouble. So the Swallow told that I don't like boys. I don't want to go to Egypt. I want to go to Egypt. And right now my friends have already reached there. So even I want to go to Egypt. But the happy prince looked so sad that the little Swallow was sorry. Now children, the way he told to the happy prince, and the happy prince started to be very sad, and he told that I will be going to the Egypt, and that happy prince has become very sad, and he flew away with it in his beak. So what happened, children? He requested, when he saw that happy prince had become so sad, the little Swallow felt sorry for the prince, and he told it is very cold here, he said, but he agreed to stay with him for one night and be his messenger. And children, at the same time, what did the prince told the Swallow? He told the Swallow to stay with him for one night and be his messenger. Messenger means whatever message, whatever thing he will tell him to do, he has to do it. So the happy prince, he told him to become one of his messenger. The boy is so thirsty and the mother is so sad. He's telling the boy is very thirsty, as well he is not well, and the mother is very sad. I don't think I like boys, answered the Swallow. I want to go to Egypt. Now he told that I don't like boys and I want to go to Egypt. But the happy prince looked so sad that the little Swallow was sorry. It is very cold here, he said, but he agreed to stay with him for one night and be his messenger. Finally, the bird agreed. When he saw the sad face of the happy prince, he became very what to say, he could not say no to him, and he decided that he would be staying with the happy prince for one night, and he will be helping the person. Thank you, little swallow, said the prince. The swallow picked out the great ruby from the prince's sword and flew away with it in his beak and over the roof of the town. Now, children, the prince, what happened? The the prince, he heard the prince, children. He told the swallow that now what he has to do. Now, children, in tomorrow's video, I will be telling you how the swallow he stayed with happy prince, how he helped him, and then you can see how kind was the prince. So with this, I end my video here. Thank you and have a nice day ahead.